day, viewers. Thanks for joining us another episode. So today we are going to continue from our previous episode, which was on police brutality and the justice system. My name is Eunice Ogurotimi from Edward Foundation. At Edward Foundation, we render free legal representation to indigent inmates and those that are wrongfully incarcerated. So today I have here with me Itunu Awolu. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Alright, you're welcome. So you said in the last episode that the police has delivered on their mandates. So however, we also have issues of emergency. So what do you have to say concerning that?
Well, I mentioned that it's not as if they've gone all the way, but at least they are making an impact. Without them, it will be in a state of anarchy. But that issue of emergency is a very serious one, because when you have an emergency, you don't have numbers to call. The numbers are unnecessarily long. Like they are the normal number that you and I use. This is an agency. Agencies should be able to have. There are companies that have special numbers. They request for special numbers that the digits are usually very similar, like probably just 2 digits difference. Now imagine a whole agency using number like that of a normal person in one place like that. In international countries, you have in the US they use 911. Even we that we are in Nigeria, we know that US they are using 911. In Nigeria, we don't know the emergency number that we are using in Nigeria. Now, when you even actually get the number, the particular number, and you dial the number, unfortunately, it will not even go. In an emergency number that is not going through, unavailable. Now, when you are now so lucky that the number goes through, is either nobody picks the call. When you are now probably on a very lucky day, somebody now eventually picks the call. They may tell you, oh, there is no fuel, or there is no officer that can actually come to your area. Outside the country, once you dial that number, even if you are in so much distress that you can't actually pass the message across, you can't tell the person at the other end that, okay, this is what is wrong with me. The fact that you have dialed the number, they will get your location directly. Because once you dial that number, it will show you it will show your GPS, your location, and they will immediately send an officer that is nearest to that location, that within a minute or two, an officer will be at that particular location. We don't have that in Nigeria. We are even way far behind. So I think that is a very big issue that has to be treated.
School of thought that the police is poorly remunerated and funded. Would you say this is the reason for police extortion everywhere?
Well, I would say it is one of the reasons, even though it's not a tenable one. As a police officer, you're supposed to, as a human being, a normal human being, you should have passion for your job and do it with integrity. It comes with you being a human being, not even being an officer. Now, you being an officer, someone that works for the government, you are an agency provided for under the constitution. People should hold you in high esteem. You are not supposed to be involved in any form of corruption, no matter how little it is. So whether they are poorly remunerated or not, it is not a reason, or it is not a reason for them to now go on extorting people and all that. Even though I know that it is one of the reasons, because you cannot put a hungry man in a bank where he has access to a lot of money and tell him not to touch it. Of course, he's hungry. You want to touch and spend or take care of whatever problem he has. But I think it is just one of the problems. Probably if you address that problem, it will kind of like bring it down a little bit.
A lot of arrests were effected during the lockdown, and these cases were held in court with a lot of people remanded. Would you say that in any way there are innocent people in prison as we speak?
Of course, there are lots of innocent people in prison right now. Like during that lockdown, the National Human Rights Commission stated that there were 18 extrajudicial killings. Now, aside those 18 extrajudicial killings, there were like a lot of arrests that were made. A lot of cars were impounded. Lots of people were arrested for not wearing face masks. Now, if you don't have money to give at the police station, definitely you are going to prison. So you can imagine the lots of people that have ended up in prison because people are broke. You don't even have money. Bail is not free. The way they say it is free. You can't get to the police station and say you want to perfect bail with 20,000. Who are you telling that one? So they usually take so much money from you. Now, someone that doesn't even have money, maybe the person is just thinking about, oh, what am I even going to eat this night? And you're asking the person to bring that huge amount of money to perfect bail. So a lot of people, once they are arrested, they are going to prison. If you don't have family members that can rally round and raise money from you, there are a lot of people in prison as we speak right now. Lots of people in prison.
Alright, so as the operating manager of Effort Foundation, can you tell us how police brutality has given the organization more work to do and how the organization's operation has been frustrated with the courts not sitting?
Really frustrated. Like, the frustration is high. Like, I can't even explain, and it's just sad. We have not been able to do anything because courts are not sitting. You can't perfect bail. Once a person has been taken to prison, I mean it is still at the police station. You can still go to the police station and perfect their bail. You can get administrative bail for them. But now courts are not sitting. You can't get access to any magistrate that will perfect bail for you. So a lot of people are there. Before the lockdown, we had so many inmates awaiting trial, so many people that were still trying to get out. We are shouting about the congestion of the prison. Now imagine these 2 months, the huge increase in the rate of police brutality, the unlawful and unnecessary arrests that were carried out, the huge number of people that have been dumped in that place. By the time court starts sitting, it is going to be a very huge workload for us. But right now, we are not doing anything. We can't even do anything right now, and it's really bad.
Alright, so can you please provide any solution to the police brutality, or how do you think it can be curbed?
Well, first of all, I would say, like we talked about the issue of their remuneration, they should work on that. If they pay them well and they give them all the necessary equipment that they need to carry out their job, I feel they will do better. Now, when it comes to the issue of recruitment, there should be proper screening. The qualification, for now, the level of qualification of the police officer is someone that has ordinary national diploma or a national certificate of education. Now, I feel if they lift it up to the level of someone who has a bachelor's degree, it will help them better, and then they do the proper screening for them. Now, there are there are periodic trainings that police officers go for. They have police staff, police colleges, police academies. Now, in those trainings usually run for 6 months. I feel if they include, if they incorporate in their courses the study on fundamental human rights, the limits of their power as a police officer, because they feel they are giving them all this power, they can do as they want. If they train them on the limits of such power, on the fundamental human rights, and also interrelation with people, because they are working with people in the society. If they go for trainings, conferences, seminars on those topics, I think it will really help them to do their job better, and it will help them to work properly. Also, in addition to the qualification, they should recruit people that have the psychological and physical capacities. It is not just any random person who feels, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life, let me just the police force is recruiting, let me just go and apply. It shouldn't be like that. So there should be a very strict screening process. Also, the laws, like this particular act that guides the police force, should be reviewed based on changing circumstances, occurrence of events. We should be able to foresee the future and make laws that will actually guide future occurrences, even though they are not happening now. We should be able to look into our future and feel, okay, these are the things that we need, because the force is the first point of call when it comes to administration of justice. So we really need to work with them. And again, I would want to add that people, like the people in the society, should also give their support to police officers. We shouldn't just leave them that, oh, they are bad. They are not all bad. There are the good ones. There are those that are actually working with passion. They actually have passion for their job. So if you give them the needed support, it will encourage them. And more so, that particular act, section 78, provides for commendation for the police officers. I think that particular part is just in the heart. They are not actually doing it for them, because I feel if they are actually commending exemplary services they are actually praising them. Oh, you've done well, this is for you. They promote them. You've done well, they promote them. It will encourage them to do better. Then the issue of erring officers, they should be the punishment should be made public. Now, if you make one of them a scapegoat, it will send a message to the rest. They will not just want to do their work with laxity that what will happen? They will just transfer me and I'll go and continue like that. No. But if they actually prosecute one in court and they actually keep them in prison, the way other inmates are languishing in prison, if they also languish, even though I'm someone that is against that is against overpopulation of the prison. Now, but at least they should make someone a scapegoat. It send a message to the rest, and it will bring about a reduction in the rate of crimes and corruption in the system.
Thank you. For innocent people currently in prison, what is their fate? We discussed earlier about those that are languishing during the lockdown. So considering the fact that courts are not sitting, what will be their fate?
We can only pray. Courts should just start sitting. That is the only thing that can actually help them. There are organizations like HARD who are ready and willing to help them so that we can decongest the prison, because that place is really bad. The condition is really bad. So it is not for any sane person, and it is not all those that are there that are actually criminals. So we pray that the court starts sitting soon enough so that work can start and be able to help them.
Thank you very much. So can you please give us your final words on the topic?
Well, my final words will be that the issue of security is for all of us. We as humans in the society should try as much as well, even though we might have had experiences of police brutality, we shouldn't put it on our face. We shouldn't let it affect the way we act. When we see other policemen, we should hope that there are still very good ones among them, and in whichever way we can support them to make their work easier, we should do that.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad to have you here today. Thank you to our viewers. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like and share our videos. Thank you.